this is Caroline, your local realtor here in San Diego with Windermere Homes and Estates. My goodness, so much has happened over the last week and a half with the pandemic that's going on. And what I want to do today is let you know what's going on in the market, how this is affecting real estate, and what you need to be looking out for. By no means do I have all the answers right now, and quite frankly, I don't think anyone does on any level. First of all, of course, COVID-19 has affected the way we're doing real estate. You've probably seen a lot of information out there about how things can be done virtually now, and that literally is what we are seeing with the governor's recommendation here in California for the shelter in place. This means that at this time we're not doing any open houses, we're not doing any showings, everything has to be done virtually. And while we do have the means to do it, and we have a lot of fancy tools and great technology to make this happen for you from the comfort of your home, literally, whether you decide to do this sight unseen as a buyer is really up to you. I'm not here to tell you whether you should or you should not be doing anything. I'm not here to tell realtors what they should be doing. We're all independent contractors in this, so really it's left up to the discretion of every single realtor on the specifics and the nitty-gritty of how they want to handle things for their specific clients. But there are things that you need to be looking out for. Your biggest concern right now as a buyer or a seller is not whether this can be done virtually or not. We can do everything virtually pretty much, right? But your biggest concern right now should be, how do I protect myself? Because the contracts are not written in the context of a pandemic. They're not written to protect you if you lose your job mid-escrow, right? So some of the things that we're seeing out there right now are cancellations because so many people are losing their jobs. They're mid-escrow, their loan is supposed to be funding, and when they lose their jobs, the loan does not fund anymore. What do you do when you've removed your loan contingency already as a buyer, right? So you need to make sure you're protecting yourself and you're not losing your deposits. You need to think about a mechanism to protect you if you need to cancel. If your loan doesn't get funded, we have an addendum that just came out from the California Association of Realtors. You need to make sure your agent is aware of that addendum because that gives you the possibility to negotiate between buyer and seller what you're going to do in the event the escrow does not close or you can't get your loan as a buyer. The addendum is optional. This is a point of negotiation. So really, you need to be protecting yourself in this situation. Be proactive. Typically in a contract, the loan contingency is the point in time where you get the approval from your lender that everything is looking good, the underwriter has approved your loan, and at that point in time we remove the contingency. Right now the standard is pretty much 9 days or so before closing for a 30-day escrow, right? Loan contingency gets removed on day 21. Right now, if you go out there and make offers, you need to look at that contingency, and you may want to consider being proactive and extending that so that your loan contingency gets removed the day you fund, the day before you close. This is unprecedented. There are no mechanisms right now for us to know what would hold in a court of law or not. We're seeing some bad faith out there where buyers mid-escrow are coming back and requesting price reductions that are unwarranted. Now, sellers, you need to think about whether you even want anybody going in your home right now. That's a consideration that only you can make, right? Again, there's a lot of things that can be done virtually, but the odds of buyers wanting to buy a home virtually or sight unseen, they're not very high. Maybe for an investor, who's more comfortable and well-versed in this, or someone buying a fixer, they're going to tear it down. They don't need to see it, right? That can be your pool of buyers right now. But are you really going to go out there and get the highest and best in the current market? I would say most likely not, but again, I always like to look at micro geographies. I don't like to look at averages overall. We still have some properties that are seeing multiple offers because of the low interest rates. So it's not to say that it's not a good time to sell, but only you and your agent can make that determination of whether for your specific home in your specific neighborhood and looking at the comps, if this makes sense, right? What is the pool of buyers that's going to be looking at your house right now? What are the predictions right now for the housing market specifically? Well, again, nobody has a crystal ball. Things are so fluid. Things are changing by the hour, by the day. Nobody really can say whether this is going to be a deep recession that we're going into, or if this is really going to be just temporary. It really depends on how quickly this virus can be mitigated and the consequences under control. So based on what I've heard, and I've been in this every single day, knee deep, reading the news and videos from our chief economist, Matthew Gardner at Windermere, which we're so blessed to have. So basically, the prediction right now is that this is a pause. When we went into this pandemic, the housing market was actually doing really, really well, in the sense that homes were selling really fast, demand was really high, interest rates were really low. So we had a very healthy economy and a very healthy housing market. Now, contrary to 2008, this is not a housing market crisis. This is a pandemic which is completely due to external forces. There is nothing systemically wrong with the economy or the housing market, which leads a lot of economists to believe that once this is over, we will most likely pick up where we left off, and we will see a whiplash effect where the economy and the housing market specifically will pick up and exponentially get back on track, right? Inventory was already low, and a lot of sellers are putting their plans to sell on hold right now, again, as part of this overall pause, if you will, which is driving inventory even lower. So when we pick up where we left off, we will most likely see a surge in inventory and a surge in demand when buyers have confidence again in going out and buying a home. This is also very different than 2008, because a lot of buyers have equity in their homes, which was not the case in 2008. But with the stringent requirements that came to be after the bubble in 2008, people were putting very large down payments to buy homes, and they had to be very well qualified, which means there's a lot of equity, and odds of people going underwater after this are slim, or they're at least mitigated, because we also have mortgage relief and mortgage forgiveness measures that are being put in place right now, up to 12 months, at least for now. And this is something you need to check individually with your lender. So there's no expectation right now that we will see a lot of foreclosures or short sales coming out of this. The net effect of all these forces remains to be seen on how it's going to play out when we come out of this, and what the housing market will look like. To recap, what's most important for you right now as a potential buyer and seller is not really whether things can be marketed virtually or not. They can be. What really you need to think about is, how do you protect yourself? How do you ensure that you will have a successful escrow going into this? Because most of the escrows go through without any problems with the contracts the way they're written right now. But now we're seeing a need to really understand those contracts and understand what our options are. I will tell you, by the way, that I took a refresher class on contracts not too long ago at the San Diego Association of Realtors, and the trainer was saying that 91% of realtors don't come back for that, which is mind-boggling, because that's what one of the biggest jobs of a realtor is, to protect you and understand those contracts and help you understand what you're signing. So realtors that have been in the business for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years not going back is an issue. It's a problem, and I urge you to choose your realtor wisely. You need somebody who is on top of it, who takes this career with, who's very committed to this career and passionate about it, does it full time, stays up to date, so that you are protected. That's very, very important. If you have any questions, anything on your mind, some things that I haven't answered, please know that I'm here to help you any way that I can. Don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime. You can reach me by email, by text, by phone. I'm always happy to help. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.